Hello, friends! Welcome to episode 94 of Storyteller Conclave. It's a show all about helping you run the best tabletop role-playing game that you can, whether you're a new storyteller or dungeon master learning the craft, or an experienced storyteller looking to take your game to the next level. I am Sarah.
I'm Rob.
How we doing, Rob?
I'm doing well.
I'll tell you what,
wonderful.
I am super full.
Dinner was very good. Dinner
Yes.
was very good. Thank you so much for bringing it tonight. That made my day so much easier.
Not a problem at all. I want to give before we get started, a big shout out and happy birthday to Patreon contributor Knox in the Box.
Yes, happy birthday.
Glad you got to take the day off and
good way to do it.
Yeah, mess around with Hero Forge. He was posting some pictures up on our Discord and
nice.
stuff like that.
Yeah. I did not have time much to look at it, so.
Man, they got some epic basing now.
Yeah,
Some
I mean,
of that
I feel
look
good
really
about that, but I also feel bad about it at the same time. Like, if you're grabbing the STL files, sometimes you don't want the basing because you want to base it yourself.
Well, you can do something different with it. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, like, I like what they're doing with the basing, but at the same time, I would like those as separate files.
Right. Yep.
You know, just so I can do the 3D print right for both of those, because I've already experienced that as an issue. So, yeah, if you're a 3D printer and you do those kinds of things with models, their STLs are great, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
At the same time, they can cause some havoc with trying to do supports and stuff and some of the things they've done. So.
Yeah, having come from doing that a little bit myself, it's
tedious.
Dicey. It's dicey having to print something 4 times because it keeps failing.
Yeah, but again, their stuff is amazing. I actually kind of look forward to one day using the coupon that I have to have a painted mini sent to me because I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
Not that I had prepaid or anything. I didn't do that, but they gave you I think it's 20% off, and I'm like off of one of the basic paintings, and I was like, I'm going to take that offer. And once we are back to gaming on a regular basis, I think I might make my Big Bad Evil Guy for my campaign be a painted from them, just to see how it comes out.
Please tell me it's Bulgrin. Please tell me I get to punch him.
You will get to punch Bulgrin. It will not be him.
All right. I'll. That's the important point, though, is that I get to punch Bulgrin.
You will get the right to punch Bulgrin. I don't know if you will, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Well,
so you did have your game.
I did have my game. Yeah. So we had the third part of the 3-part one-shot that I ran, where you were playing alternate characters trying to rescue the captured main characters.
Yes.
I think it came across pretty well. I started getting some of the feedback up on my game Discord from my players. Everyone seemed to have really liked it, but the sentiment also seems to be, that was great, let's not do it again.
I think it was less of let's not do it again, but it was neat experiment, and I think there's going to be some time to really, once we're back to our characters, get a feeling for what it meant to us.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't think it's a let's never do it again thing. It was more of it was the perfect length. Any more would have been too much.
Yeah, it was the appetizer. Please give us the main course now.
Yes, exactly. Those were the delicious mozzarella sticks.
Yeah.
But I want my steak.
Yeah.
Yes.
You teased me with steak on the menu. You told me how tasty it is. I've seen it on other people's plates going by.
Yep.
Bring me my steak now. So, yeah, no. But other than that, I applaud you for all of the effort you did and the organic storytelling you built into it. And it taught me a few things, and it was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Well, good.
So.
I'm really, really glad it came. I was pretty happy with it, and everybody seemed to have really good sentiments. So
yes.
So tonight's show.
Yes.
Okay. So a little backstory on tonight's show. Both Rob and I are members of various Dungeons and Dragons and role playing related groups in across multiple things, but Reddit specifically.
Reddit's a great place to find a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And one of those is a subreddit it's called DM Academy. And in there, about a month ago, I saw a thread that really sparked my interest. And it was called Give Them a Nuke. If you're on our Discord, I did post the link to it into the show notes thing there. And so you can all go and look at it. It was originally created by Reddit user Dungeon Zaddy. And the original text just simply reads, give your players a one-time use, super badass, over-the-top spell scroll. Hell, you can even homebrew it. Am I crazy? No. Watch what happens when a player knows they're carrying a summon pit fiend spell scroll that basically has the potential to destroy a town. My players are watching their backs more closely, constantly trying to avoid being searched, and making damn sure they don't get pickpocketed. They know if they lose the spell scroll, they may very well have to fight the pit fiend. It was something I thought very much. I thought through very much, but throwing this in has created so many interesting little developments. And I thought this was a really great commentary on player power and rewards and such like that. Because I think we, as storytellers, game balance and rewards and such like that is always such a tricky thing to handle.
Yeah.
Like, I want to give you guys a +2 longsword, but is that going to trivialize something else down the way? Am I making you overpowered? What if I give you, the Staff of Power or a Wand of Magic Missiles? Every little...
Deck of many things.
Right.
Yeah.
Every little thing that I give you guys gives you one more solution that you can trivialize a problem that I throw in front of you. And as drama is born of conflict, it would allow you to resolve conflict very easily, ergo make things boring and routine, and you just stomp through everything, and it's very difficult for me to balance the game at that point.
Well, it changes it, but I see where you're going.
But, yeah, right, I'm just saying, is that's the basis of the struggle, at least. And this post flipped that all on its head. Give them something super powerful that can only be used once. Only when it was funny, And I just found it really compelling.
So I guess the thought is like, and this is what I was seeing is from a lot of the posts were not so much even people talking about, whether it was a good idea or a bad idea, but everybody was talking about how they had done it or what they were going to be doing and how they scaled it. They were being very specific in some cases. Others were basically drawing out how bad this thing was to have or what it would end up doing the one time. And I think that really kind of painted a picture for how storytellers tell their story. I think this is I would almost put this out there as the one question you ask a DM to figure out what kind of a DM they are.
Okay.
Kind of like the old the aristocrats for a comedian to see where they sit on the comedy scale and how far they're willing to go.
Yeah.
This is the, you have one superpowered item to give your players. It must be ultimately powerful. What do you give them?
Oh, God, I don't know.
Right. But by doing that, but taking the time to think about it and or listening to the way that their answer is crafted kind of teaches you a lot about the playstyle and the storytelling.
Yeah.
So it kind of gave me that feeling because as I was reading through, I could tell where people came from. And what styles. Like this person clearly came from a tactical gameplay. This person clearly came from a bunch of players who all were lawyers about everything they did and were minutia about it. This person here clearly just has amazing stories with their friends who they really don't care what the outcome is. Their story's outcome is what the players drive. And they were explaining things as like, I gave them a spell scroll that did 1d10 times 100, and they wanted to roll the dice out. I said, go for it. And so they literally pooled as many dice as they could. And when they ran out, they're like, can we re-roll? I'm like, no, that's all the dice you have. That's all you get to roll. And I was like, okay, that tells the kind of storyteller you are. You're just there to have fun.
They don't have hundreds of D10. Clearly, they've never played Vampire or 7C before.
Clearly, and that taught me that about them.
Yeah.
They just didn't do that. And so it was, or they just didn't have it available. But if the storyteller was there and still didn't have it available, that kind of says a lot.
Yeah.
But again, it kind of throws it in. At the same time, it made me think about, like, is that okay? Do we do this? And what kind of things does that present? And it comes back to the conversations we were having about it of, does it make them second guess what they're doing? Does it immediately give them a power grab? And then they are like, and then they play the standard game of, I'm going to hang on to this until I need it. And then after the game is over, they're like, oh, I never used it.
Right.
Which is so common. It is so common. The conservative gamer, if you will. So
from my perspective, like the very first thing I thought is like you hand someone a nuke like that, they're going to use it to just nuke the big bad evil guy and win the story. Win in giant air quotes.
Yeah.
And so that's like the very first reason you don't want to do something like that is because it's like you don't want them to just destroy your big bad evil guy. And then I started thinking like, or do you? Or do you? Because like every action furthers the story. Even nuking the big bad evil guy, or literally anything else. The implications of using that power can be even bigger and better of a story than anything you had attached to your big bad evil guy. So like if it's a summon pit fiend scroll, like the original example, is that pit fiend now on the loose?
Yeah.
Or worse yet, almost worse yet, do they have control of a pit fiend? I mean, what sort of people in your world have control of a pit fiend? Evil guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least
traditionally,
that's what everybody else thinks. Maybe they do now. If it's like a powerful damage spell, is there like environmental fallout from using it? I'm not talking about necessarily radiation, but did you just deforest a square mile area?
Well, and that's the thing is that we're also thinking in much of a fantasy realm, and there were a few in there that I think that if I remember correctly, if you went down the list, that were not just fantasy. Mm-hmm. And that people were talking about, Spelljammer kind of stuff and things like that. And it made me think of other stuff outside of that, which I'll get to as we go into this. But yeah, like, do you become the baddies?
Mm-hmm.
Could you be the reason of the start? Like, one guy said that he started the game off with giving the players an ultimate weapon that basically I think was effectively like a lightning spell, but with like a wider, like it was already enhanced, it was already extended, and it was doing max damage. So basically it was going to do a lightning spell that was like 20 feet wide width and like 400 feet long, and was going to do max damage at that whole distance, right?
Oh, geez.
So they whip it out to defeat something that's just outside of town and end up shooting lightning through the center of town and into the mountain.
Uh-huh.
Now, the guy had not written a story. He just wrote this one encounter to see if they would use it. And they did. If they hadn't, he was going to have that thing like available to the big bad evil guy to find, like to go after them for. Like they now, because that's the whole reason why he was coming. But now they literally just pulverized that guy to ash and left a crater of electrical energy that tore through the city and out the other side, blowing things apart. Now they're the bad guys. They literally just wrecked a city, and in the path, all of the other creatures that were along that route now hate them. And
if they survive.
Well, they're the ones that did.
Yeah.
The child who was standing next to their mother who literally was vaporized next to them, things like that. And so you suddenly had, and I think he said it's like he went in the aftermath thereof. Like, it's been 3 months. And everyone's been quiet about this. There's been stories, but no one has said who did it. Like, the Crown has been trying to cover it up, but clearly think people are starting to hear things. And you're sitting in a bar, and 4 guys come in, 4 thug-looking guys come walking in the door, mercenaries, obviously, of some sort, and the bar gets real tense. And the guy walks over to the bartender, and the bartender kind of looks over at your table, and everyone else in the bar starts to get up and leave.
Ooh.
A fight's brewing.
Uh-huh.
And that was the opening of the second scene.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean,
I love that.
It's a dark story right off the bat. Mm-hmm. So
the whole concept brought to mind a couple of cliches for me. Knox actually just hit on one of them, the whole idea that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And handing them that, I think you'll watch your characters start making a lot different choices. They might, you don't know, but it offers them a lot of solutions. The other one that I love is when all you have is a hammer, every solution starts to look like a nail, or every problem starts to look like a nail.
Yep.
And that's an awful big hammer to hand somebody.
Well, agreed, but at the same time, like you had brought up the fact, like, if your players get into that mentality, is it just destroying every encounter? I mean, you've done time, you've calculated things, maybe you've made minis, made terrain, and they just walk in and stomp all over it?
Yeah.
Like in one shot, like in 6 seconds, they're all laughing at your crap. That's kind of sucks in its own way.
It does kind of suck, but so here's the counterpoint to that, though. Okay. They go in, they drop the nuke, and everybody just starts laughing at this carefully planned encounter you've got.
The players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. You said your players are laughing?
Sure.
That means they're having a good time.
I suppose that's true.
Are we all at this table to have a good time?
Yeah, but you know that feeling as a storyteller.
All right. I know that feeling as a storyteller, but sometimes you need to step away from that. Sometimes an encounter does not go the way that you plan. Like, okay, for instance, as a great example of this, the first part of the one-shot interlude.
Yes.
Okay. You guys found one of the awful Daedric gibbering mouthers in the basement of that tavern.
Yes.
I meant for that to be an encounter. You were supposed to fight that thing.
Yep.
How did it go? The rogue stealthed down, saw it, was not seen herself, stealthed right the hell back out, went, nope, you, mage, nuke it. What's down there? Nope, not even going to tell you. We're just going to nuke it. And you used sacks of flour to aerosolize a propellant, and you burned the inn down on top of it.
We did.
Now, I could have been salty about that. You guys should have fought that thing. Instead, you're just going to stand outside and burn the tavern down. But you burned the tavern down.
We did.
And everybody and look at you. You're laughing and smiling right now just thinking about it.
I laugh at it from both aspects, both as the storyteller and as the player.
Okay. Is it a better story that you just noped and burnt the story down, the tavern down?
I think it was a better story because we noped and burned the tavern down.
You see?
And
I offered you a nuke one-shot solution to that.
You accepted a nuke offer.
I accepted a nuke offer.
Which
okay,
I think is another part of this.
Yeah.
Which I think is another part. You don't always have to hand the nuke to them. Sometimes your players come up with a nuke. Like, I witnessed a write-up that followed one of my stories, because in one of my stories, I had a tower topple down into the sea, taking out a ship. Mm-hmm. As one of the pieces. I had mentioned that on the 7C forums, and someone had said, hey, one of my players decided to kind of do this to stop something.
Okay.
They literally knew that they would have problems getting out of this cove. They saw the lighthouse. They set the charges. And instead of stopping them, saying, putting people against it, they did it all right, and they had it all prepared so that when they left, they blew the charges by firing a cannon at it, hit it, and toppled the tower behind them, stopping everyone else from leaving the port.
That's great.
And it stopped a whole sea fight that I had planned.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't care, because they took the time and they freaking enjoyed it.
And they felt heroic.
Yep.
And those guys are not going to be walking away talking about the sea fight they almost had.
Yeah.
They're going to be talking about that one epic time that they planned and executed this daring escape by blowing up a lighthouse. And so, bring this back around to the one-shot nuke. Let them have it.
Yeah.
Let them have it. It's gonna be so much more fun for them to just be like, we noped that encounter so hard.
Fluffernutter.
Yeah, fluffernutter. Exactly.
if you know the scene, enjoy. Fluffernutter.
But then, of course, like I said, every action continues the story, even if it is dropping a nuke and saying we're not having this fight today. We're just winning it. Okay, yeah. Cool. You nuke the big bad evil guy. Focus on the consequences of those actions. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe there are none. If in a lighter game, okay, great. You drop the nuke, you all had a good laugh, the story goes on. Mm-hmm. You don't always have to punish the players for doing something right.
Yep.
Maybe if it was a heinous enough act, like you offered earlier with the giant lightning bolt. Mm-hmm. Maybe your characters just became the new big bad evil guy.
Yeah, unknowingly.
Unknowingly,
yeah.
Right. Powerful. Now, this is the other one, too. Sean made me think of this one, because his game is set in Waterdeep, in Forgotten Realms.
Right.
There's an organization that he's really fond of called the Harpers.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And in one of our other games, he had a member of the Harpers following us around, basically because they don't like rogue adventurers, because they are unknown variables.
Yeah.
And they make powerful people very nervous when they begin to get too super powerful.
I always thought that the Harpers were a very political organization because of all of the little things they do to make sure everything is still okay.
Yep. So now imagine you're a Harper's agent, and you get report that some group of adventurers did this thing. Yeah. And, half a city is blown up. and this guy got nuked off the face of the planet along with like 15 of his minions.
Yeah.
Are you going to go check that out maybe just a little bit? Are you maybe going to want to take those adventurers at least in for questioning, maybe down a peg or two, because they're getting a little too powerful, and maybe the masked lords of Waterdeep don't want that kind of power just wandering around.
Exactly.
Whether they did it for the right reasons or not, whether they're the quote-unquote good guys in the history books.
Yeah.
Powerful people get nervous when other people get powerful around them.
Indeed, indeed.
And so you just gotta, imagine if you're a private citizen, right? You get in a fight, and whether you're justified or not, you pull out a rocket launcher and destroy the whole building. Mm-hmm. Do you think the cops are going to want to talk to you?
Probably.
And you'd be like, he tried to mug me. Okay.
That's a bit much.
But you pulled out a rocket launcher, and we've got some questions.
Yep. Yeah, the other one that I read was the red version of it. That not so much that you give them a big bad weapon that is a one-shot thing, but that they're already recognized as weapons. They are the big bad dangerous thing. Mm-hmm. They have that one ability or that one thing that makes them that way, and everybody knows it. But they've, all of the real players know it. Mm-hmm. None of the commoners do, because they just see, adventurers. Oh, it's just another adventurer. But, like, literally when the Harpers show up, they're like, oh, no, he's in town. Crap. All right, well, first off, alert everybody. Who everybody? Good
Everyone!
All the good guys and the bad guys that we have a problem in town. We don't know why they're here, but we have a problem in town. Like, if they're going to go adventure somewhere, just fix it. Make it easy. Mm-hmm. Just let them have whatever the hell they want and let them out of town. Let them go.
It's better for everyone.
Take down the wanted posters. I don't care how much money is on the table for anybody there.
You don't want to make them feel threatened. Just don't make eye contact and back away slowly.
Call the Dons. Tell them to pull his goons off the streets. There shall be no robbery going on.
Yep. Yep.
We just want these people to leave town as quickly as possible. And it definitely changes the tone of the game. Mm-hmm. Now you're not getting work anymore, but you don't know why, and you start rolling insight checks, and you realize
everyone's afraid of you.
The fear is high in this town. So,
all right. So I want to bring up another counterpoint to this whole thing.
Sure.
We just talked a lot about what happens if your players use it. Mm-hmm. What if they don't?
They just hang on to it.
So, Final Fantasy is a big influence in my my gaming life.
Yeah.
And the Elder Scrolls games too. So things like games like Skyrim. I've got several hundred hours in Skyrim.
Sure.
And I'm sure you've had a similar gaming history. It may not be with those exact games, but RPG games in general. You ever end up on the last boss with a 99 stack of like full heal elixirs? Mm-hmm. And you still don't use them because you might need them. It's literally the last boss. Like, you will beat this and the game will be over. There is no more content beyond this point, but you might need them, so you don't use them.
What was the ones from Final Fantasy?
Those are elixirs.
No. There was a specific one, like something white or Dawn or something. They were a special elixir that gave you both life and magic, and like it was a super elixir.
Oh, okay. In earlier games, they were called elixirs. They did the full life, full magic.
I just remember like there was a certain one, and I'd always, whenever I played, I would always have a stack of them. Like just sitting around. It's like, why don't I use these? Why don't I use these to get everyone back? Like,
because you might need them.
Yeah,
they're too important to use right now.
Yeah.
There might be a tougher battle later in which you might also consider using them for 3 seconds and then say no.
Yeah.
Because there might be a tougher battle after that.
Correct. Like, I got through this one, but I don't need them right now.
Yeah.
And you don't sell them, even though they're worth a lot of money, because you might need them,
Mega elixirs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you might actually end up with that situation if you give your players a big nuke like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're going to fear the one they use it on, but they might just walk around with it. And watching the drama unfold around deciding to use the nuke can be almost as good as using the nuke itself.
I agree.
Because it alters their strategy so much.
Yeah, well, because it's another variable.
It is. And especially if they go into considering the implications of using it. Of like, do we want to use it because it'll be gone, or do we not want to use it because it might paint a target on us? Or, you know...
I will say that most players won't think of that until they start getting into more political games.
That's
you know,
fair.
where there's a lot more players in it.
That's very fair.
But I definitely would think more so that it may fall into the wrong hands.
Mm-hmm.
The longer you have it, the more chances that you're going to go down and someone's just going to steal it. And now you have an even bigger problem because you just let that go and you know about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, worse yet, what if it was gifted to them as a thing to protect or keep or whatever when they would possibly use it? That guy knows. Like, knows where it went.
Yep.
You know? What do you mean you lost it? We kind of misplaced it. What do you mean you misplaced it?
Well, then you could actually run into the other opposite problem if they don't use it.
Right.
And that is you run into a either A, it never gets used because they forget they have it.
Mm-hmm.
It gets stuffed in a bag of holding somewhere, written down on somebody's sheet as a footnote, and then they never use it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're having your post-campaign breakdown, and you're like, I'm surprised you guys never used that thing. And they all slap their foreheads going, oh, yeah, we had that thing the whole time. Why didn't we? God, we're so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Or you end up with what I like to refer to as a dust of deliciousness situation.
Oh, yeah. Where they pull it out and you forgot.
And it's been 87 game sessions, and you're like, remind me what that does again? Oh, it has this effect. Okay, and how are you going to use it? Well, I'm going to do this. And then use the storyteller to go, okay.
I mean, that works.
Okay. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me do some math.
Yeah, I mean...
And now suddenly you're trying to very badly, like, make up for this thing even you forgot they had.
Yeah. And you let it happen, because it makes for good story.
Mm-hmm. All right. So there's the what if they use it? What if they don't use it? And how about the if this falls into the wrong hands impulse? Yeah.
If it's taken from them, if they lose it, if it falls into the wrong hands, maybe they sell it and it ends up on the market, which is always an interesting one because they didn't know exactly what it was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's where things get real dicey.
Mm-hmm.
So I could easily see people approaching them for it. People who clearly have money and intention and them making decisions on, I mean, this could retire us. We could be done with this. No, we can't sell it to this guy. Well, we might not have a choice since he knows we have it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking like the crime lord.
Yeah.
You know, pulls you inside, sits you down, offers you a nice glass of white wine. You've got, you know, his lady folk are you know, tending to your needs. There's nice music playing. He offers you a fine cigar.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, what is all this about? Well, my people tell me you've come into possession of a certain item, an item I'm very highly interested in. I could pay you a very, very lucrative price that I'm sure you will get no place else.
Right.
If you just exchange that item for me.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll owe you a favor. And I know that you know what owing me a favor, or me owing you a favor,
is worth.
Is worth.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is put it in my hand and walk out of this place right now.
Yep. And now you're like, crap, do I take this offer? And then if you say, no, I don't, he still knows you have it.
Right. So your options are yes, and you've just given a one-shot nuke to a crime lord.
Right.
Or no, and you've just told no to a crime lord.
To the head crime lord. Yeah.
Who wants the thing you have, and you know what step B is.
Yeah.
Step A was ask for it nicely.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a decent person, but there are people who are not so decent in my organization who know that I want this.
Yes.
I'm not going to say that they're going to come for you, but I will say that they are very aggressive in all of the tendencies that they tend to use to achieve the things that I wish by my birthday, which is next week.
Which is right. Now, out of courtesy. Yeah, exactly. So you've got a lot of interesting situations that could come along with that. And, you know, even just reminding players of this can create some interesting dynamic moments. You know, reminding them that their power is temporary. Remind them that it can be used against them if it's lost.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, you just handed a Mafia Don a one-shot nuke. You know, what if you later then cross that Mafia Don What if you have second thoughts and go and ask for it back, and he decides that's a slight, Are you now a target for it?
Yeah.
You know what you just gave him. You know what it can do.
Yeah.
Bad guys might want to use themselves. The good guys may want to disarm the players. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And once unleashed, depending on what that power is, like the original poster said, a Pit Fiend, that power may remain in play as its own factor. So you get a lot of very cool implications for just putting something like this on your table and just watching what happens.
Yeah. So I kind of want to break down what we're talking about, some options, some ideas and explanations that we have. So that if you want to do something like this and you want to use it, what are some guidelines and some things to think about?
Yeah.
You have the known nuke, which I think is the one of the best ways to do it. Anytime that you can present something to your players in clear, open format, it lets their brain start to be tickled. You're not, there's no gimmicks, there are no edges to it. It's just, this is a scroll of Fireball. It is max level and can be cast by anyone who can use a scroll. Period. End of story.
Sure.
You have it. That's it. Simple as that. There are no question of what it is. You don't need to identify. You are well enough versed in Magic that you look at this and say, holy crap, that's exactly what this is. Like, with a little bit of skill, your fighter could read this and blow someone up. That's it.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
How do you pronounce this scroll? Is it Haster, 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 or Huster, Huster, Huster?
Either way, we're all dead.
Right.
So. Yeah, and I think by being blunt and to the point, you remove that question in their mind, and it is only about what it can or cannot do in their minds. Whether it's something they use or don't use, whether it's something they protect and covet, or something that they try and get as far away from themselves as possible. And that's where things can get really interesting. I was reading one where the person gave them a wand, and the players immediately, like 3 or 4 episodes in, realized how dangerous for them to even have it, because they could lose it or something like that. And so they decided that, much like the Ring of Power, they were going to try and destroy it. Then they realized how destructive destroying a magical item really was.
Yup.
And they were like, do we even know what that'll do? And they're like, most enchanters will tell you don't do it. Like, bad things will happen. We're not entirely sure all the bad things will happen. Maybe it'll discharge all of its charges at once. Maybe that magic will tear the weave. Maybe it'll do something completely different. Maybe it'll just crack and fizzle.
Contents under pressure, keep away from open flame.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it throws into question everything else about the box, because they already know what the box does.
All right, so then... let's see here. You can give them directions to drama. It's not in and of itself a direct power.
Sure.
But if you tell them where the power is...
Oh, like the Ark of the Covenant?
Like the Ark of the Covenant, the
Sure.
whole, map on the back of the Declaration of Independence,
Yeah.
sort of thing like that. Or the key to the Crystal Kingdom, you then have something that in and of itself leads to power. It's not necessarily your one-shot nuke, because it's very difficult to use that sort of thing in the capacity of, we decided we don't want to engage with this encounter, so we're just going to nuke it, sort of thing. But it does still have that implication of it as extreme power put into play, and then begins that whole cycle of, should you have it, should you use it, should you find it, and are you hunted for it?
Yeah, I think it definitely falls in the category of the guy with the $1 million check, where, like, he can't deposit it because there's no bank will just accept it, but he could walk in and get himself a fine suit because he has to go take care of this. Or he can get a good meal because they see that he has this $1 million check. So everything else that falls along the line with it, but at the same time, everybody's waiting for the $1 million check. So yeah, that's how I kind of feel about that one. Going along the lines of things that aren't necessarily touchable but are still fit net is the key or gateway. Where they have the way to open something. Like you were saying, like a portal spell that would open to a pit fiend. Or a summoning or something like that, where literally they hold the key to that, to turning that thing on, launching the nuke, or activating the whatever drone, or releasing the megavirus. That is within their power to let it go, but at the same time, it is not within their control necessarily.
Yeah.
And they're aware that there's that element of, if I open this door, I kind of know what's behind it.
It's a little Pandora's box.
Kind of. But it's definitely more known than the Pandora's box in the sense that you're not in control.
Right. I just mean Pandora's box from the aspect of once you uncork that genie, you can't put it back in the bottle.
Correct. And that it's clearly something stronger that put it there. I mean, you do have the unknown box, where somebody hands them something that was ultimately powerful and protected, yet they don't know what it is.
Oh, yeah, here, don't use this. It'll destroy everything. Anyway, bye.
Yeah.
What do you mean don't use it? What? Yeah. How do I use it?
Yeah, I don't even know how this thing works.
What is it? What comes out of it? I don't
Right.
know. Destruction comes out of it.
Yeah, the last guy who opened the lid of this box, his face melted off.
Yeah.
Oh? What was in there? Nobody knows because his face melted off.
Right, we didn't
don't
even
open
stick
the
around
box.
to ask, right?
Right, don't open the box. Is it like a sun in there? Is it heat? Nobody knows. His face melted off. We closed the box and put it away and marked it Exhibit X, do not open.
Yes.
And I think those types of things are kind of unique on their own because, again, you have that moment of, I have no idea what's in there. And whoever put it there had a rough clue, but marked it with enough markings to say, don't do this thing.
Right, yeah, I mean, they more or less put a warning label on it. Whoever put it there for a reason, You are locked behind the 9th gate of Anastor because, you are the most evil thing that has ever walked the face of this earth. Okay, cool. Here's the keys to it, Like, maybe the gods that banished this person here were onto something? And, maybe we shouldn't, or maybe we should, I don't know. I mean, does the big bad evil guy warrant that kind of ass-kicking? I don't know.
Yeah, and I would say, the other thing that I read a lot was that people get into heavy details. They want to they want to lawyer up the rules as tight as possible so their players don't mess with it too far, and they can just do this one thing that they allow. I say don't go that far. Like, if you're taking that much time to figure that out, it's not important anymore. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
You're stressing out over something that literally it should be fundamentally understood. And secondly, you have to be prepared to put this in front of your players, the people that you have a trust level with. If you already know that they're tactical geniuses who are going to literally use every item in a MacGyver type of way to try and work around your problems, clearly you need a different type of challenge for them.
Yeah.
Don't give them a Swiss Army knife and tell them the only item they can use in it is the blade. They will use the rest of the stuff in there. In fact, they'll probably kill you with the toothpick.
It's always the corkscrew.
Yeah, the corkscrew.
Oh, jeez. So, in summation, I am looking forward to giving you guys all a nuke in my game, and
I will be looking forward to seeing
looking
said
forward
nuke.
to seeing who you nuke with it.
Yes.
Do
you have some questions?
Yeah, we got some questions here.
Go for it.
I got a couple questions here. So the Mad Elf shot us a question, sort of.
I think it's a question.
The first thing that comes to mind in the context of a topic is a powerful weapon. I'd love to hear a consideration of other one-use powerful tools. Thinking of the letter that comes up in the Three Musketeers. It is by my order of the good I can't read this. It is by my order and for the good of the state that the bearer of this has done what he has done.
Yes. So it's literally an open-ended letter.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, ooh, okay. What did they do? It's not defined. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's an open letter of destruction.
You can essentially claim anything.
Correct.
Yep.
And I think those types of things are powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Are just as powerful as a nuke, and it's in a non yet could be possibly very destructive way.
I mean, if you conceive of social encounters as essentially just a different type of combat encounter, It's absolutely a nuke.
Yeah.
This is a maximized fireball you can drop into a social situation.
Mm-hmm. Or not. You could murder somebody and then literally present this letter and walk away.
Uh-huh. I'm thinking like in Hamlet.
Yeah.
Where Hamlet sends Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Guildenstern and Rosencrantz.
Was it Guildenstern and Rosencrantz, or was it... Never mind. Anyway, sends them to, what, Denmark?
Yes,
and
with a letter.
With a letter, basically, but he changes the letter that they were presented. It was supposed to say, kill Hamlet.
Right.
And he sent them with a letter with the king's seal on it saying, please kill the bearers of this letter.
Right. They're traitors.
They're traitors,
Yeah.
and here they were.
Yep.
It sounds a lot like that. I don't know. Other powerful one-use tools. I mean, the big weapon comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it would really depend on your setting. Like, I think things like this are a really great way to exhibit as a storyteller what the upper limits of power within your world building are.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in my setting in the Elder Scrolls, I mean, it wouldn't be a pit fiend necessarily, but it might be a gigantic Daedra of some sort.
Sure.
It couldn't be one of the Daedric princes, but it could be one of their right-hand men, you know?
There's nothing to say it couldn't be a favor from a Daedric prince.
It could be a favor from a Daedric prince. It could be a Daedric artifact in and of itself, and you guys are dealing with the fallout from one of those right now.
Mm-hmm.
It might even necessarily be Daedric in nature. The Aliens came up with some really gnarly stuff.
Oh, the automaton stuff.
Yeah, the Dwemer.
Dwemer.
The Dwemer, who are no longer even around to figure out their technology.
Right.
Had all sorts of automatons and, like, basic robotics.
Kind of,
actually,
yeah.
Very complex robotics, actually, when it comes to it. But, like,
Yeah.
in a steampunk magic aesthetic.
Yes. Or music aesthetic, depending on who you're reading.
Depending on who you're reading.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it could be, you know, the control rod for a Dwemer Colossus,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or Centurion. What are you going to do with, like,
Right.
you've got a Dwemer Centurion, you know?
Right. I mean,
What could you do with that?
a dragon call would be another thing.
Yes.
Where you could call a dragon of old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you do at that point? Like, you could talk to him technically, but maybe if you're in the middle of a battlefield and someone's just like, you know, hey, you know, you better get out of here, adventurer. You and your 3 friends aren't going to do much here. You're right. We wouldn't normally. And then you call a dragon to show up. And suddenly now that person is wetting themselves. Because they haven't been seen for an age.
I'm thinking the implications of that too. Of you call the dragon strafes them with dragon flame and just scorches the earth everywhere around there where they are, lands in front of you and says, "I've
Fulfilled
my duty now, mortal. I'm free," and takes off. And you're like, "What do you mean you're free?
Yeah.
Free from what?
Exactly. From you.
Did I just unbind a dragon?"
You did. You
Whoops.
did. Right there. And they have other things to do.
Yeah, they've got an agenda now.
Yep. Well, I mean, they had an agenda before. Let's just be honest.
So, I mean, those are just some things that come to mind. But yeah, I would as a storyteller, whatever story you're telling, I would use it to show what the upper limit of power in your setting is, and use it to tell an interesting story about what that upper limit is and why we don't usually reach that upper limit and the dangers of reaching it, or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
It could be a lot of great things there.
Yeah. Knox then asked, I've always thought about the best way to empower a person is to give them their choices and control back. When rewarding your players, do you feel it's better to give them a reward that you've chosen for them, or a reward of their choosing that fits their own character or playstyle? What are some possible ideas? What are some problems this could lead to?
It's kind of a big question. Do you feel it's better to give them a reward you've chosen for them, or a reward of their choosing that fits their own character or playstyle? I tend to want to choose for them. For one simple reason, and that's just simply because it gives me a better handle on the power level that I've offered them and what solutions I've offered them. And I can better account for that in future encounter design. And it's a completely selfish thing, but I also tend to give things that the player would want anyways. Or at least I think they would want.
I definitely feel that for a lot of rewards. Anytime that you have an epic reward, it is always hard to figure out what the best reward is. I think in some situations, definitely for some gameplay styles, having the player pick the reward for their character and work it out with the storyteller is a good way to go. I definitely think you could come up with some really interesting story and dramatic moments within that. You'd have moments like Gimli asking for hair,
Oh, yeah.
and getting 3, which, alone in the movie only seems like a token kind of thing that's, of beauty, but to those who know Lord of the Rings and the meaning of that, it's incredible that he got 3.
Yeah.
And so I think that you could definitely put it to there that your players could come up with something that you would have never thought of, and then you can add a level to that that's different. Like, it's the Wizard of Oz ending, what they've always wanted. It's what they've asked for the entire time, but at the end you give it to them in such a way that it feels complete. You knew that the Tin Man, wanted a heart. You knew that the lion wanted courage. Each one of them got what they were asking for the whole time, but the key is to be listening well enough, or listen to your players well enough to find out what it is the thing that they're asking for. And sometimes that's really hard in games.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I think there's a lot of good out of character just talk, storyteller and player talking about their characters and their place in the story, where you can work a lot of that stuff out. And I know you and I have a lot of those discussions, but
I think they happen more in games where you as a storyteller take the time to pause and listen to those people.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is giving your NPCs the time to ask somebody a question. When one of your players says, "I'm going to head up to bed," my character's not handling this. They're going to step away from this whole situation. Great, that's fine. Maybe there's somebody in the hall who catches them and "Are you okay?" And they're like, I don't want to talk about this kind of a thing. Well, it's fine. I'm just going to go downstairs and, play some music, but you seem like somebody who might need a few minutes, of somebody to talk to. What happened? And you let an NPC be that guidepost to allow that character to open up.
To speak plot exposition into the story. Yeah.
And and open the window for you as a storyteller to listen.
Yes.
And make your notes and really feel it, and let the other players hear it too, and accept the fact that they can do the same thing. That the players who don't have a voice can have a voice on the side when they need it. And that really helps you better understand who they are and their playstyles.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Knox is actually in the live chat right now, as he usually is. He asks, he says, "See, I'm a lazy gift giver. What's the DM equivalent of giving a gift card?" That's called a favor.
A favor, and they're dangerous.
That's called reputation.
Yes.
Yep.
I will say drama dice, reputation, inspiration are the simplest gifts that you can give, because they're a mechanical thing that most games have in some way. A token, that is clearly defined by mechanics. The level above that, which is then in-game, is, like you said, a favor. Have someone of importance or something of importance offer to them a favor, a divine favor, an infernal favor, a friendly gesture, that you can call upon me from something important. I mean, and every single person can have that in some way. You have your fighter type people who might have a blacksmith they're interested, or weaponsmith, or something where they could get something from them. You've got your thieves guild who will say, you have a favor from the head of the thieves guild, which carries weight in every city. And at that point, okay, now that's been taken care of, because they could cash it in with literally anyone of power in any major city, because now that person has a favor of the head of the thieves guild, and so it pushes it on. So all you have to remember is that those are your two base levels of any kind of gift that you can give that are big. One is an instantaneous thing that if you're not even thinking, just drop it, kind of thing, because it's a mechanic, and the other is something that opens the story up a little wider, and always make the redemption of those things exceptionally meaningful and powerful.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Do
yeah.
not, take your time. That when a player says, oh, I want this, don't just give it to them on the spot. Take time to evaluate how you can make that request powerful.
I would almost put that in the one-shot nuke bin too.
No, it's definitely there.
Because that can be like I'm thinking, the token from the Thieves Guild.
Yeah.
Of like, if you ever run into trouble, present this token and we'll make sure that your problem is taken care of.
Yeah.
Once. And see, like, you pull that token out and like the guard that's about to take you in goes, Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. And he takes the coin from you, and he's like, I'll make sure this gets into the right hands. And that's all you hear of it, and you're like, okay. The guard just totally took my thing, and then, like, 3 people disappear. All people who were foes of yours. And then you just get a note slipped under your door 2 days later saying, it is done. And then, like, you go to the tavern, and there's, like, missing person posters posted up for, like, the people who were giving you a hard time, you know?
Yep. Yeah, there was I'll throw a little story here. An individual that I know who will remain nameless was having a problem. They were an investigator of sorts doing insurance work, and they had information about some really cooked books. And they were offered kind of clemency, saying, hey, we're not going to nail you because you had nothing to do with this, but you have information. And if you're willing to turn that evidence over and testify, we'll protect you, and we'll take care. We'll make sure that you're fine in this.
Sure, okay.
They knew the people involved and said this wasn't going to work out. And so within a few days, they were getting death threats and like really intense stuff. But they had a favor from somebody. And so it had been an old family friend basically said, if anything happens, do this. And so being weird, they went basically downtown to this and asked a few people. And that person said, yeah, you should go to this restaurant on Thursday night. Don't be late, dress well. And they showed up. And sitting at a little back table were some individuals having dinner. And as soon as they walked up, they were like, oh, yes, you're so-and-so and so-and-so's son. I can see it. What's the problem? And he explained that, he was fearful and that there were issues in his life and that, threats were coming to his family. And they said, you go home and get some sleep. Going before people in court is very challenging. It won't be an issue. And the threat stopped.
Wow.
Literally at that moment. And when he went to court and sat and testified, literally the person who was threatening him and the rest of the people who were in the defense wouldn't look him in the eye while he was testifying. They literally turned away.
True story, huh?
True story.
Ooh.
True story. It was, and that's the power of a favor.
Yep.
When someone has pull and draw, sometimes it's time to take a step.
Great question, Knox.
Yeah.
What is the GM version of a gift card?
That's it.
There you have it.
There you have it. And it changes the story.
It really does. Yeah.
And it made it powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think that there's something to be said about powerful items and powerful weapons in games, but sometimes the most powerful in a story is changing the context. And I think Adventure does that well. Because naturally in Adventure and Tales, you can literally rewrite the story while you're in mid-writing it. And it's not the same thing as a powerful weapon, but it is a powerful tool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you have to be willing to accept the yes-ands from your players at that point and let it happen. And I think if you're looking for good context where normally you would think it would be something dangerous to put into a game, Adventure kind of just takes it in stride.
Yeah, Adventure's one of those games where, like, the more over the top, the better. How are you describing Iron Skies 2?
Oh, God.
It was like lizard person Hitler riding a dinosaur on the dark side of the moon or something. Like,
in the core, empty core of the Earth.
In the hollow core of the Earth.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, that's a pretty standard Adventure game. So
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. I was like, what am I watching? Oh, this is Iron Skies 2. There was a 2.
Yeah.
There was a 2.
The first one was Nazi robots from the dark side of the moon, right?
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
And then they followed that up with the Earth getting nuked because of that.
I just want to talk a little bit about next week's topic. We just got a few minutes.
Yeah. We might as well open up that gate.
Kind of cleaned up the this topic a little bit quick today. So of course, if there's any further questions in the live chat, by all means, throw it at us. But next week's topic, we're going to be talking, kind of dissecting the big question about the minutia in gaming.
All the little things.
Food, water, encumbrance. What style of game do those belong in? Are they fun?
Yeah.
Can they be fun? Sort of things, or are they just needless bookkeeping?
Yeah, I remember a few of my games where we had ammo count and we had ration count and we had that hard survivability factor. And just looking back in my mind and thinking about how I felt about it then versus how I feel about it now and what it means to my stories now. And it's different. It's a very different feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a consideration of what type of story are you trying to tell. Is the hardship the important part in the story?
Yeah.
But we'll definitely get to that a little bit more next week, and we'll kind of get into we will get into the minutia of it.
Yeah, and
womp womp.
And we are getting close, I would say, to the end of this month, and we've been kind of hinting at some things coming up. So we'll let a little bit more out of the bag on this. So second quarter of 2021 is going to be a little bit of a shift for us. We're going to be doing a little bit more posting on a regular basis. We're going to have a couple of new ideas that we're going to be putting out in play. So you guys should start seeing more content, especially our Patreon members. You're going to get some unique views into things.
Yeah, we're gonna throw some stuff up there for our Patreons. Gonna give a little more incentive to
join us. And join the conclave. And hopefully you guys will start seeing this, and we hope you continue this journey with us through 2021, and it pulls a few more people into the conclave. So if you like this stuff, we want you to like and subscribe, if you will.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
I'm not gonna say we're ever gonna do YouTube. Oh, but I feel like it's gonna happen. Like
I feel like we're gonna end up putting up our podcast episodes on YouTube, and that's it. Like not making YouTube content like videos,
like a waveform.
Yeah,
like showing it off that way.
Yeah,
I mean, I suppose we could. Either way, we still will be attached at the hip to our Discord and our people here. We love doing these live show chats with you guys. I thought about, like, I even asked Sarah, I was like, do we want to keep doing this? And I really like it. I like doing live recording. I like not having this be a processed show.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to keep that up. We're hoping to continue that through 2021. And as we reach our 100th episode, holy crap.
It's coming up. This is 94. I'm just saying.
And we hope that the content will continue as it is as we start coming up with more shows and more interesting topics for you guys. We have quite a few coming up that we just came up with very quickly and then got into deep discussions about.
Oh yeah. I think that the thing is, I love that after all this time that's still happening.
Yeah.
Where you and I will just like take some like offhanded comment that somebody makes on the Discord or something like that, and we'll just be like, that gave me some thoughts. And 45 minutes later, we're like, oh shoot, we should probably
have a show.
Like,
we have a show on this. Holy crap, we have a show on this.
Yep.
So, but with that being said, you can find us on Twitter at @ST_conclave, on Instagram at @ST_conclave, on MixLR, which you're hearing us now live on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. at mixlr.com/storytellerconclave. And you can always find our link in our Twitter or at our website, storytellerconclave.com, to join our Discord.
I want to give a big shout out to our Patreon members, especially Knox in the Box, Sam, Arcane Asylum, Sparkle Motion, and Vedran. Thank you so much for supporting us week after week, month after month, and helping us keep doing this show. Our pre-show music is by Arcane Anthems. If you were listening to that, listening to us live, you heard that. You can find them at patreon.com/arcaneanthems. Our intro music is Beyond the Warriors by Geefrog. You can find that at geefrogmusic.weebly.com. And our outro music, which you're hearing now, is Only Our Footprints in the Sand by Midair Machine. You can find that at soundcloud.com/midairmachine/tracks.
We'd also like to give a special thanks to Vicky and Sean, our families, and everyone else who supports us, our friends who we are constantly getting great tips and ideas from, and you, our listeners.
We love you
We love
so
you.
much.
Good night.
Good night.